Okay, so welcome everyone to the March CPD session. Thank you everyone for coming. Today's session is focused on the second module of the Catch Web module system, so number 2. Now the module 2 is around education and self-management. It is the longest of the modules, so for those of you who have patients that are going through, they might go, whoa, there's like 100 pages here, but they are all good quality pages, and they provide patients with a lot of resources to support their heart knowledge and also their self-efficacy. So lots of ideas around goal setting and making a plan for a healthier way of living. So we've got our usual 2 speakers today. So we've got Robyn Clark, who's going to be our guest speaker, and our service of the month is from the Riverland, Mallee, Coorong area, and is going to be Felder. So I just want to do a quick introduction for Robyn, and then I'll hand over to her. She has a lot of interesting things to say, so I don't want to delay proceedings any further. After Robyn's, we'll go through our service of the month, and then we have a few little admin-y stuff to happen at the end. So to introduce Professor Robyn Clark, who really needs no introduction, but Robyn is a registered nurse who has been a full-time researcher for 17 years. I actually think it might be 18 now. I think that her page on LinkedIn might be a little out of date now. She is a former midwife, a critical care registered nurse, and an MED with a PhD in health sciences. Robyn is Professor of Acute Care and Cardiovascular Research at Flinders University, but she also holds affiliations with UniSA, Queensland University of Technology, and SAMRI. And of course, you know, Robyn is the chief investigator of the CHAP project. Robyn's research is focused on strategies to improve the effectiveness of cardiovascular disease management for disadvantaged populations in particular. So the elderly, rural and remote, low literacy populations, and English as a second language, and Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander populations. But always with the aim to enable translational research. So ensuring that research evidence is implemented into practice, is patient-centred and adapted into policy is key to achieving sustained models to improve access to cardiovascular services. So we've invited Robyn to give the presentation for the second Catch module around education and self-management because she's going to talk to you today about the Nurse Cora avatar, which is an innovative approach for providing personalised, flexible and effective cardiac rehabilitation education to patients, many of whom might be having functional illiteracy. So the use of avatars and gamification in healthcare to provide interactive educational experiences and to guide patients in decision-making to support a more effective self-management of chronic conditions is being increasingly used as a strategy to motivate behaviour change for health and well-being. So I'll hand over to Robyn now. Thank you very much for joining us today, Robyn.
Thank you, Stephanie, for that long, lovely introduction. Thank you very much. So, we've just got to go. We're just testing all that a few minutes ago. Just go to the beginning. So thank you for inviting me to speak to you today. And at the end of this talk, I do have a surprise and some really great news to share with you around this project. So thank you again for inviting me to speak. So of course, whenever I speak, whenever I'm on video, I always acknowledge my fantastic team. I have a bit of a new team compared to those ones in the photographs shown here, but these are the guys who are working around the Avatar project, and I acknowledge all their amazing work, particularly Ginny and Hoy and Joy, who were amazing students who worked on these projects. So I had a dream. And no kidding, that's me at ICU graduation. I won't tell you the date, but I was young, I was inspired, and at the time, Star Wars movies had just been released, and I wanted to be Princess Leia. Now, it's not just the fact that Carrie Fisher and I actually have the same birthday, different years. She was older than me, but I still wanted to be Princess Leia. And the reason that I wanted to be Princess Leia was when I saw this 3D avatar deliver a message to the guys on the starship. I thought, now, wouldn't that be cool if we could send nurses all over country South Australia doing patient education in their homes? So that is my dream. Unfortunately, we're nearly there, believe it or not, because a couple of years ago, I went to see the tech guys up at Flinders main campus, and no kidding, they have developed 3D avatars. So the little Nurse Clark will be going out to rural South Australia really soon. Unfortunately, they're experimenting with kittens, dragons, but they have done the first holograph video call to London a year ago. So this technology is closer than you think. However, in the meantime, oops, here we go. That's the Voxon video. There's the dragon. That's the Game of Thrones dragon. And there's a soccer player. So in the meantime, we've started to work with Monkey Stack developers from South Australia who are internationally recognised for their work. And we started off with avatars. So we're going to work with avatars while we're waiting for the 3D holographs to come along. So the reason that we're motivated to do this project was how we communicate and how we educate patients. So what I see in the real world is people communicating like this. Because that's a typical scene at a university bus stop. That's how people communicate in my world. This is how we've been communicating for the last 2 years in the COVID world. And this is how elders are communicating. In fact, the baby boomers, 85% of them currently own a smartphone, and baby boomers are booking their travel arrangements and looking at their grandchildren's videos and photos very actively on the internet. So this is how we communicate. No one's going to deny that. But when I walk down to the hospital, or when I'm sitting waiting for my appointment in the GP practice, this is what I see as how we communicate. Posters, pamphlets, booklets, etc., etc. I was involved in a falls project in 5C at Flinders, at Queen Elizabeth Hospital a few years ago. And at the end of the project, I said to everyone on the ward, I said, oh, did someone remember to take the posters down? And everyone goes, yeah, they're all gone. They're not there anymore. So I walked around the ward. Every single one of the posters was still up. People had just stopped seeing them. So you know what that's like. So what we were thinking was, can we communicate better? Can we educate better? Now, with printed education materials, Jeremy Grimshaw, who's a huge evidence-based practice guru from Cochrane, has been working on a systematic review for more than 10 years now. The first one came out in 2007 and said that printed medical education materials, according to the Cochrane Review and Evidence, make little or no difference to patient knowledge, and that web versions weren't a lot better. So if you just put something up on a web, you may not be communicating much better than giving a booklet or a brochure. However, in the modern world, people who are developing web-based apps, etc., are testing more effectively and showing that they are effective in improving knowledge and clinical outcomes. So stay tuned for technology. And in Australia, we have text messaging, we have apps, we have exercise apps. Joyce is online at the moment. That's certainly an industry that you guys all know is going crazy. So there is certainly a place for patient education through apps and technology. So I guess before we start, we have to acknowledge who we're teaching. And to this audience, I don't really need this slide. I don't need to tell you that we need to consider age and sex. I'm going through some marriage problems with my husband at the moment. It seems that whenever my lips are moving, he has some sort of hearing impairment. I'm not sure what's going on there. But obviously, culture and ethnicity are important. I don't think that there's a whole lot of issues around cultural education between men and women, etc. Literacy and health literacy. You can be the professor of biophysics at Flinders University, but you may not know a thing about prostate cancer. That's the difference between literacy and health literacy. Obviously, people who are depressed aren't going to learn well, and you know that. Self-efficacy. Do you want to learn? Do you want to change your ways? Engagement. Are you more worried about getting back to work than you are about changing your lifestyle? And obviously limited access. You know, does your Wi-Fi even work? So does your Wi-Fi even make these apps and mobiles possible? So of course, we've got to consider all of those things when we're developing these apps, and obviously when we're teaching. So another important statistic, and this became really apparent to me in my PhD. I kept writing all through my PhD that telemonitoring and heart failure would be important for rural and remote Australians, especially Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. And I kept mentioning them especially, but one of my examiners was a heart failure expert for China, and she wrote to me and she said, did you realize that almost a quarter of Australian are of Asian descent? I did not know that. So I added that into my thesis. So to be aware of what Australians look like and are is an important thing when it comes to communication and literacy. So from the Australian Bureau of Statistics, it says that 1/4 of Australians and 43% have one overseas born parent. So either a quarter of them were born overseas, or more than almost half had one parent born overseas. So that means English may not be spoken at home. So there's a lot of bilingual communication. And there you go. 1 in 5 Australians do not speak English at home. And I've seen that demonstrated with a mini mental test in the heart failure clinic, where this beautiful Italian nonna come in and we were testing her mental capacity with the mini mental test in English. And she was not so great. And then we had a nurse who spoke beautiful, fluent Italian. She did the mini mental test in Italian, and she was 100% sharp as a whip. So communication, how you do it, culturally appropriate, really important. Of course, I mentioned health literacy with the professor of biophysics, but there's new statistics from ABS again that 47% of Australians are functionally illiterate, which means that they can't read maps, read a recipe, or more importantly for us, read the instructions on a medicine bottle. So this guy here has been asked to bring in a stool sample, so he's thinks he's done the right thing. So I guess that's another area that we have to think about when communicating, especially in rehab. I guess the other thing that's against us, and this is more important for discharge education, which was partly the focus for us developing the apps, that length of stay has increased incredibly. And I think PCI same day is definitely here, or it's very much on its way. But acute AMIs were in hospital for 7 to 9 days. The average length of stay is now 3.2 days, not a lot of time to get on by that bedside and do some DAP education. And obviously there's a huge variation in the skills and confidence of the nurse delivering the discharge education. I guess it could be the reliever from the agency all the way through to the 30-year veteran in cardiology. So I guess my question to you is, why are we not making practice more like the real world? Why is clinical practice so reluctant to get on board tech tools and tech support? So it's a bit hard to say that to you guys, since you're the catch web and the catch telephone leaders in practice, but obviously in general practice this is not so. So let's just look at who we're dealing with. 7.6 billion people are on this planet. Half of them have a mobile phone. Interesting, that includes children and babies. 85% of the Earth's surface is now covered in Wi-Fi, but I bet you guys in country SA know exactly the spots that are not. So I acknowledge that. And so I guess I have to ask, why do we continue to hand out brochures and booklets to non-English speaking people, and why are we not using technology to communicate more than we do? So in case you haven't seen the movie, an avatar is an icon or a figure representing a particular person, and they're really popular in computer gaming. If you're a gamer, you know exactly what an avatar is. And avatar technologies for supporting education are on the increase in schools and in health. So the guys that I'm with are doing some school literacy programs in maths and spelling using avatars. And their latest product is targeted at boys who are gamers to address mental health. So they're trying to avoid depression in young boys, especially those who are doing a lot of gaming. And another important principle that we applied to development of our apps was that we always involve consumers in the co-design. And this is the fabulous Frank, who has been with us on the entire journey for nearly 7 years ago. He has heart failure and he's been a dynamic app developer. And of course, here's Justin from Monkey Stack. So one of the things that we've seen is you can see how the gamers grew our Nurse Cora in the first instance, and how she changed with feedback from the various either clinicians or from the consumers. So you can see how it develops into our beautiful Cora there. Again, these are a more development. Cora is meant to be wearing an old Flinders uniform, and this is one of the latest versions of her, which is more 3D. So the science of avatar design. The first thing I learned in the gaming lab was they had school teachers developing the gaming. And when I first presented emergency chest pain management, they said to me, "Oh, that's pretty serious, isn't it?" And I used my nursey voice and said, "Well, yes, chest pain is a very serious thing." But they also reminded me that when you're learning even the most serious things, you should be engaged, and maybe you can still have a little fun. So we are not giving you a lecture from an iPad, something that we mentioned just recently. We try to be interactive rather than didactic. So there are games, you have to press the button, you have to answer questions. We use the principles of web design for elders. So we use pictures rather than words, and this is also a literacy thing. We only have one message on each slide, on each page of the apps. And on each page, whatever concept we're talking about, central chest pain, there's a picture of it, there's a word for it, and the avatar says it. So some of I was talking about this just recently, some of the principles of web design for elders, and our group is considering that for elders, you need to have plain backgrounds, not a lot of noise and graphics. You need to have fonts that are at least minimum 14. You can't use Times New Roman because it's got little feet. You have to have a smooth font like this one here, which is Calibri. And the one thing that consumers told us, which was really interesting, was they're really frustrated with the size of buttons on phones at the moment. And so they'd hold up their fingers and say, "I need a decent sized button. Can you make the buttons big enough for this finger?" Which is really good feedback. And actually, we all agree there are times when the letters are a bit tiny for us to do our typing. The other thing about the avatars is Nurse Cora and Bob and Mary don't make anything up. And I could go to court confidently anytime, because not one word of the script is made up. It comes from the guidelines. So we have taken the Heart Foundation guidelines for chest pain, heart failure management, and 6 steps to recovery after a heart attack. and word perfectly put them into the script. We are the children of the TV generation, so most of us only have a time span between ads. You know, our concentration is whatever the TV people make a show last till the next ad is probably how we've now been programmed to have a attention time frame. So what we thought was, initially we thought we would make it the length of a song in your playlist, but that was a bit short. The average song's about 4 minutes. Or the chest pain app can be done in 8 to 10 minutes, which we think is plenty of time to hold someone's attention. The symptom images are science-based. So if there's a picture of, and this is Hugh Grantham, arm pain, according to the statistics, is more common in men. So we had a guy demonstrating that symptom. So we're actually real and true to the science in our imagery. A lot of this stuff was a real surprise to the doctors when I presented this presentation at Felder's cardiac grand round. The other thing is that Cora is deliberately drawn to have international features. And my most favourite moment in the world was I was presenting an APRA in Canberra, and a nurse who looked exactly like this walked up to me and she said, "Hello, who do you think I am?" And I'm there, "Oh my God, you're Cora." She said, "Yes, I am." She's actually now doing a PhD, but she was from Iran. Beautiful dark hair, dark eyes, lightly olive skin, etc. And the idea was, if we can with the computer convert Cora's text into 144 languages. So with the push of a button, Cora's lips could be moving to Parsi or Arabic or Spanish or Greek or Italian, just by hitting the computer button. So it's a handy feature. And also with a few modifications, Cora can talk about dialing 911 or 999 or whatever country you're in, the emergency number is. Not a lot, because it's guideline based, not a lot changes around the world, which is really, really interesting. So we have a family of avatars. We have Cora, Nurse Cora, who we thought, well, that is a serious message. So we had a nurse presenting the emergency heart attack, things you need to know. And that's a game. I'll show you an example. We have gone from there to do the 6 things, a discharge app, which are the 6 things you need to know when you go home after your heart attack. And we've actually got a Scottish atrial fibrillation. So as I said before, Cora can now speak Scottish, and she sounds beautiful in Scottish. And she presents atrial fibrillation to the guys up there. Well, then we became a bit confident, and you'll see the difference. We thought for heart failure education, it should be peer support, peer teaching. So we have Bob and Mary, and Bob and Mary just present what a heart failure patient should know about living well with heart failure. And we are working on cultural adaptations for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander version. We've had a few volunteers to help us with that. We are currently working on a Mandarin version, and we'd like to do the 6 top languages in Australia, which are Mandarin, Arabic, Cantonese, Vietnamese, Italian, and Greek. So stay tuned, because they'll be our next versions. So, could an avatar save your life? Well, Cora has been tested scientifically, and this shows what was going on during COVID, that people were delaying going to hospital and having out-of-hospital cardiac arrest. So the blue lines are just showing you, compared to before COVID, how many out-of-hospital cardiac arrests were happening in our cardiac patients. And so with Cora, our chest pain, emergency chest pain education app, we have shown significant improvement in symptom knowledge and attitudes measured scientifically. We showed significant improvement in ambulance use in the group of patients who used our app. And patients reported that the app helped them to feel more confident in recognizing and responding to symptoms. Because as we know, a lot of times when people have chest pain, they go straight into denial. Oh, this must be the pizza I just had or something like that. And we're obviously working on larger projects to test this in a randomized control trial. So everybody, let me introduce you to Nurse Cora.
Hello, my name is Cora and I'm a nurse. I've been looking after people with heart conditions for a long time. At any time, you can tap on the menu button in the top left-hand corner to go to a specific section. It is important to understand that warning signs can vary from person to person. Tap on the pictures for more details.
This is just an overview, so we're jumping around between the
pain in your jaw. People who have experienced discomfort during their heart attack describe it as an ache or a tightness in and around the lower jaw. You may also experience...
I forgot to mention we had celebrity Hollywood actors performing for the photos. You can see that.
While experiencing
great,
other heart attacks.
great photos.
You may even feel faint.
Great acting.
The first step is stop. If you experience any of the warning signs I have shown to you, you should immediately stop what you are doing and rest. You will also be given advice on what to do while waiting for the ambulance to arrive. Here are a few questions to see if you've remembered what to do if you are having a heart attack. When you experience any of the warning signs of a heart attack, is it best to stop and rest immediately? Sorry.
Can you see how big the buttons are for yes, no?
You have scored 3
We were
out of 6.
listening.
Perhaps we should go over some of the information again. It is very important that you are confident about the warning signs of a heart attack and knowing what to do when they appear. That's a lot to go through in a very short time. If you have any questions, make sure you ask your nurse or your doctor. They would be very happy to talk to you about it.
So, sorry, I totally love Nurse Cora. She's just so endearing. So we got pretty confident, as I said, and then we decided we'd try peer teaching. So we developed Bob and Mary. They have fantastic voices, as you'll hear in a minute. Once again, we co-designed with heart failure patients, including Frank, and we were trying to create a different atmosphere of peer teaching. And I'm not sure if it's in the snippet, but Bob makes jokes about drinking beer. You know, we all like a beer or two, but, you know, we have to watch our blue words. We tested the app scientifically. You can see these great graphs, how and I was a bit worried about this. The usual care group improved their knowledge, which is probably Hawthorne effect. And then it actually started to go down. We should follow up with that. Whereas the app users, they had the app and they kept using them. And that just reminds me, we also told patients to hand it around, get their loved ones and wives and carers to have a look at them. A lot of time it might be that they're the ones standing there looking at the actual patient lying on the floor having the incident. So obviously, again, our outcomes improved. And again, we'd like to do another big study with Bob and Mary. We've published all of this, which the Heart Foundation was very pleased about.
Who would you like to talk to today? Do you want to customize your character? Hair colour, eye colour, skin colour?
This comes from Wii Games. You can actually make your character look more like you.
Heart failure is when your heart can't pump blood around your body that well anymore. Take a look at this video to see if it helps you to understand.
Our heart beats around 60 to 100 times a minute when it's healthy. Weigh yourself every day. This is the best way to monitor any changes in your body that could be caused by fluid buildup. Yes, you should check your legs, and this is what they may look like. Correct. And they may spell like this.
Just remember the 4 W's. Wait, weed, weigh, and write. You or worsening dizziness, confusion, sadness, or depression. Increased trouble sleeping, or you cannot lie flat. We've now reached the end of this section. Are you ready for a quick question to test your knowledge? When we have chest pain, we should
And as you can see, as we move through our developing, we're getting more clever with our games. So there is a game in the Bob and Mary app, which is in the supermarket trolley. So the avatar's walking through the supermarket trolley, and you've got to put items that are healthy and good for you with heart failure, especially low salt things and fresh vegetables. And if you try to put something like a packet of chips in, it bounces out and there's a cross to stop you. So the games are improving and getting more interesting and a little bit more fun. So the idea of developing these apps was not to replace, obviously, heart failure nurses or cardiac rehab nurses, but to bring a tool for the kit for the heart failure nurse and the cardiac rehab nurse, and something that patients could take home. I've watched at least 30 patients interacting with these apps, one with really interesting results, like one woman was going, I knew it was a heart attack. I knew it was a heart attack. And she was looking at how symptoms are different in women. When they're looking at how they should respond to their symptoms, it's almost like giving permission, saying, yeah, I thought so. Okay, well, this is saying it was okay for me to call the doctor. So now I feel okay. So just reinforcement of what you're teaching in your services. So the breaking news. Well, this week I had a meeting with the Heart Foundation, and they are probably 80% through uploading all of our apps onto their app store, and they will be available for services and patients for free. As soon as they're uploaded, we will let you know, and you can download them for anyone you think needs a little extra tool to take home with them, or we certainly hope that nurses will be encouraging people to add them to their iPhones at discharge. So thank you very much for inviting me to speak to you today, and thank you for letting me show you Bob, Mary, and Nurse Cora.
Thanks very much, Robyn. That was absolutely fascinating. I think it is a fabulous innovation. Now, in light of our timelines, maybe we just have one quick question. If anyone has a burning question, jump in. Nicole put her hand up first.
Oh, that was an accident. Sorry. I was...
Okay.
Oh, damn, Nicole, ask me a question anyway.
It was a great presentation, and I love it. So it would be great if we would be able to put this on our VCC apps for our clients. Would be great.
Yeah, I'll make that happen, Nicole. We'll have a page on Catch Web, and
yes.
We'll also get that onto VCC. Good idea, good suggestion. People will love it because they'll be counting the downloads, so that'll be terrific.
Yeah, we would love that.
Thank you.
All right, so we will move on to our second speaker. So we have Anne Felder has stepped in for the March session. Thank you very much, Anne. I know you were for the April session, but you moved yourself forward. So Anne is from the Riverland, Mallee, Coorong Local Health Network, and she is at Berry, so located in the Riverland Community Regional Community Health Service, and she's been working as a cardiac rehab nurse. She was actually challenged to answer this question. We've settled on 8+ years as a cardiac rehab nurse, and prior to that, she was working in the same facility as a registered nurse in the HDU and the ANC. So she's gone from fast-paced and acute to slower-paced and chronic, but she absolutely loves it. So I will get Anne to turn her camera on so you can see her, but I will share Anne's slides. So Anne, can you speak to your slides? There we go. Just asked you to unmute.
Right, there we go. Now, can you hear me? Good. Now, it might be a little bit noisy. I'm in an office with other people as well, but we'll see how we go.
How we roll.
Okay. All right. Okay, guys, where are we? We're in the Riverland Coorong Local Health Network. I've got a picture up there. Just shows you where we are. It incorporates Renmark, Berry, Loxton, Wakery, Barmera, Pinaroo and Lameroo. It's mainly fruit growing, agriculture with a bit of tourism is mainly what underpins our area. Okay, now I work in the Berry Regional Hospital. A lot of those other small towns have hospitals as well, but they're attached to an aged care facility. So Berry is the regional hospital in our region. Okay, as you can see there too, we've had some major redevelopments too. I've just added some pictures. We've got a lovely new gym. Then we've got the front of the Berry Hospital. We've got a redeveloped A&E. We've got a new MRI machine. We've also got, they've upgraded the, we've got an inpatient mental health as well. And then I've just added some nice pictures of the Riverland. Okay. Staff, well, there's two of us at the moment. There's me and there's Donna. I'm a cardiac nurse, Donna's an AHA, and we do have physio support 3 times a week. So a really fairly small team, actually. We're just still waiting to fill positions. Okay, now at our site, because we, whoops,
Sorry.
it's gone. No, that's okay. At our site, we've got a full allied health team because we're a regional hospital. That includes dietitians, physios, OTs, speechies, social workers, NDIS. We have a large rehab team which does inpatient as well as ambulatory as well. They have a 6 inpatient bed. Mental health team as well as an inpatient unit, dialysis unit, chemo, and a whole range of visiting specialists. So we have quite a whole range of people coming. Okay, the services we provide on our site. Well, we provide inpatient to all the hospitals, not just Berry. We also provide community support for all the cardiac clients when they come back from Adelaide as well. We run the cardiac rehab programs. We also do heart failure support as well, and we work very closely with the GP clinics and practice nurses. So that's just an overview of what we do. Okay. Okay, this was a bit of a hard one. Our program format. Well, we used to do face-to-face. We were running 2 groups with physios and doing gym as well. You all know that COVID came along. So we had to really change what we're doing. So we now do a virtual and a phone group. We still run our 2 groups. We do an 8-week education with all the allied health people. And we have one-on-one support with the physio with the phone group. Okay. I'll explain on the next slide how we actually got to here. Caseload, we had 176 referrals. That was with inpatients as well as outpatients, so quite high. So we tend to struggle a lot of the time, to be quite honest. Characteristics of our clients. It was interesting hearing Robyn talk because I had a look up at some of what the characteristics of our clients. I looked at a public health and wellbeing plan, which is for the Murraylands and Riverland for the regional public health and wellbeing. And they're actually which we already knew. We have a high percentage of clients non-English speaking, as well as very poor English speaking. And that's mainly around Greek, Punjabi and Italian, which actually really does impact on the heart. It's very, very hard to communicate with these clients when you've got a communication problem. So yeah, really excited with what Robyn's sharing. We have a higher percentage of people receiving sentiment payments. We have a higher percentage of people smoking and an ageing population, which all impacts on our health. Okay. So, is this the next slide or have I got a bit lost?
Oh, no, this is the next one, sorry.
Okay. So how did we get to do our virtual, go from face to face? Well, it was a bit of a long journey and a very, shall I say, challenging one. But we jumped in headfirst without really knowing what we were doing last year, brought 6 iPads, and we thought we'd provide a virtual group education via VCC with Health Direct. But we ran into problems with our physios. They pulled out at the last moment. That's an ongoing problem with keeping professionals up in a rural area. So we had to come up with a plan of what to do without the physios. So we started looking at all options. We looked at providing private physios through GP management plans, accessing whatever we could, but that became quite an issue with cost and with time. So in the end, we ended just going back to looking at encouraging activity, so without physical input. And we worked with the clients one-on-one with what the clients like, and the goal was to increase their activity and make sure that they were doing their 30 minutes a day of activity. And that tended to work quite well. So we tended to move away so much more from the gym into really working with the client one-on-one, which was really quite a different aspect for us. Okay. And what we then do also with our post group, we tend to then link our clients back into the GP management plan, where they can then access the gyms at a reduced cost through that. They can also access a exercise physiologist as well. So it was really about trying to link the clients back into their community so they can sort of have the long-term benefits of activity. So what are we doing now? Well, currently we're running 2 groups. We're still running our 2 groups. We've got no face-to-face at the moment, and it doesn't look like we will for a while. We still have quite a lot of COVID out in the community, and especially in the schools. So there's no date for going back to face-to-face. So we're currently running our iPad group, which has 5 clients. And because of the number of referrals, we started a teleconference group with 7 clients. So we're doing the education through the phone as well as iPad. And actually the teleconference one, we weren't too sure how that would be received, but that's been received quite well. I think clients with COVID just want to connect, just want to have that conversation and connect with what's been going on. So that's really what we're doing, and we're just supporting clients one-on-one with the phone and doing the education weekly. We're just starting to do an evaluation of our iPads, and we're just starting to put that together. And I think the virtual is going to be just as good as the face-to-face, if not better. So from someone that's gone from face-to-face to iPads, I think they're very much on par. We've also done a new heart failure project. Because of the workload, we teamed with virtual clinical care as well, and we come up with a new project where we identify clients, mainly in hospital, and then we just provide the first support and then link them into VCC. Now, they're not only just monitoring them, but they're also doing education and support around self-management for these clients as well. So that's been quite good for the clients as well. And it's lessened my workload. The other thing we've done as well, we've had previous clients come and share their highs and lows, their story. This has been really, really quite successful as well. We now incorporate that into the program. And here's just some of the pictures, the one down the bottom. It's just the equipment that we use. Now there's 2 of our previous clients. I had to get their permission before I could put it up. So yeah, and then you've got the people on the iPad. They just come through and you see them. So it's a virtual group. It's same as face-to-face, but it's virtual. So that's what we're doing.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, so I'll just stop sharing.
Yep.
Thank you very much for that, Anne. We won't stop for questions, but I will just flag, you have let us know about some very interesting data that's going to be coming in. So we might be contacting you again to give us an update.
No problems.
Thanks very much.
No problems.
Okay. So just to close out the session, because we're just a little bit over as usual, I just want to let you guys all know that this is my last CPD session, and it has been absolutely fantastic to run these sessions, and I've certainly learned a lot about cardiac rehab and the reality of running cardiac rehab services. But I am going to be replaced by Joyce Ramos, who is here in the electronic room with us. Joyce, I'll just get you to turn your camera on if you can and give us a wave and a hello. Joyce is an accredited exercise physiologist, and her research theme is exercise is medicine. So she is perfect for this fit, and she is focusing her research on the treatment of chronic diseases. So Joyce, do you just want to say hello?
Hi, everyone. I'm really looking forward to take over this facilitating role to go over the CPD session. I know it's a big role to fill from what Stephanie has magnificently been presenting for the past year. So I look forward to meeting you all.
And Joyce has very kindly, even though she doesn't formally start until July, Joyce has very kindly offered to step in starting in April. So you'll be seeing a lot more from her. And if questions come up about the CPD, or you have a presentation coming up, or anyone contacts you, you can always reach us through the chat email account or through the web page. So the web page has had a little bit of updates. There's going to be a bit of a revive and reshuffle for the sessions for the rest of this year, because Joyce is coming in with some exciting new ideas. So keep an eye out for all of the calendar requests. We're going to do some updates. Okay, so if that's everything for today, anyone have any last minute commentary to make at this point?
Well, Steph, I think on behalf of everybody who's been involved with the CPD program for the last year, we can't thank you enough for your bright, cheerful, informative, delivery of this session. I think that it's a lovely lunchtime, easygoing, quite painless. We've had such amazing speakers. We've had some really, super interactive sessions as well. So thank you, Stephanie, for your wonderful, bright and cheerful demeanor to present the CPD program so far. And just to let you know that no such thing has ever existed before for country clients. So they're going to miss you, and we're very grateful for your contribution.
Yeah, I will leave you though in Joyce's very capable hands, and everything will continue. So we'll have our next session April 10th, I believe, and of course all the recordings will be on the website. So only last thing I'd say is please make sure you do the exit survey. It's really helpful for us to know if these sessions are really hitting the spot. All right, so signing off for the last time with you guys. Thanks very much for joining us today. Bye, guys.